Howdy, howdy, Jordan Chariton, live Monday. It is November the 10th, 2025, in the United Corporations of America, joined by the illustrious, intrepid journalist, author of the Bullhorn Bulletin, the great Substack, which you should all subscribe to. The link will be in the description under this video, Zaina Day. And Zaina, I will give a disclaimer. Not that I have it as bad as those who have been deprived of food stamps recently, those who have been waiting at airports for a day or two because of canceled and delayed flights, those whose health care, which isn't even a thing. We don't have health care in this country. We just have health insurance, is about to skyrocket. Those basically rationing insulin or choosing between essential services. I don't have it that bad, but I am warning the audience on this great day. Colin and Michelle are taking well-deserved days off because everybody's been working every weekend here because we've been on the ground in Chicago for a month and a half, and everybody's been working around the clock. So I said, you guys need to take off. So since Colin is not behind the scenes, that means yours truly is going to be loading the videos. So I apologize in advance for the very almost definite technical problems that await. Secondly, I have not slept in about 3 months, and it's starting to affect my health. God bless my 6-month-old child, but the kid won't fucking sleep, and it's all night. There's reasons for it. I won't get into it. He's healthy other than the not sleeping, so I'm grateful for that. But, you figure you have a newborn, first 2-3 months are hell, and then they kind of sleep. Well, he started sleeping after 2 months, and then it completely regressed. He has a tongue tie and all this stuff, and we're trying to deal with it. But, I go to bed at 10. He's up at 1. I feed him, goes to bed, wakes up 20 minutes later. And then it's just this cycle. Feed him, goes to bed, up again. And it's like basically 2 to 8 a.m. I'm up with him. I love him, but, I'm kind of like on the verge of jumping off a cliff at this point. So hopefully prayers.
Very stressful time when you have either a colicky or like someone, the little one having a hard time sleeping.
Yeah, listen, I don't have to be up with my kid all day and then go work at the Amazon factory or manual labor. So there's a lot of people that have it way worse, don't want to, make it seem like this is bad. But I also do run a company and try to do journalism. So it's not easy either. However, with all that violin said, and don't play a violin for me. Breaking news, the Democratic Party has caved on the people. You don't say, Zaina. And,
Oh, I didn't see that. I saw this coming. I absolutely saw this coming.
You don't say. And by the way, we are going to get into the fact that Status Coup, I am proud to say, and smash that like button, share this live stream. We have been on the ground, in the Windy City, Chicago, now for almost 2 months. I looked today and honestly, I'm getting heartburn, and I don't normally suffer from it, Zaina. We're running up a bill on behalf of the people. We've spent 12 grand. We have not made 12 grand, let me tell you that. We have grown thanks to our great reporting. When I say our great reporting, JT Siskowski, who's been incredible on the ground, John, our great cameraman who's been on the ground. But we've been on the ground for going on 2 months. It's very expensive. We want to stay on the ground, but we need more support. So again, we will play some of those clips a little bit later, respond to, John got incredibly horrifying footage of Border Patrol pointing a gun at a child the other day as the child was screaming, please don't do anything, to him and his mother. This is happening in America, where these lunatics that Trump has dispatched are pointing guns at children. We also got footage of gunshots being fired. To be clear, we don't, after a Border Patrol raid, to be clear, we don't know who fired the gun, who it was shot at, but we do know Border Patrol is spinning it that they were fired at with no evidence. And we know that they have been lying now for 2 months, pretty much, about all the claims all the attacks they claim have gone their way. So we'll get into all that, but I kindly ask you if you're appreciating this on the ground reporting, and I will say it, and I will beat my chest, and I'm not even going to be humble about it. There is no other outlet in the country mainstream or independent, corporate or independent, that is doing this on the ground work. It's expensive, and more so than the money, it is physically and mentally draining. JT, a reporter, has been away from his 2-month-old newborn half her life, not because he's a bad father, but because he thinks this is very important to show you. John, our cameraman, has been away from his daughter. I mean, he was in Chicago like almost straight for a month away from his daughter. He missed Halloween with her. He missed several things with her. So it's not, there are sacrifices we're making. So please support us, statuscoup.com/join. All right. Let's start with the brigade of, let's stop with this term centrist. These are not centrist anything. They're not centrist Democrats. They're not moderates. They're corporate whores, the men and the women, all 8 of these Democrats. And let's also be clear, Zaina, these Democrats who are voting with the Republicans for the same exact deal that was on the table 40 days ago. Literally, they got nothing that they weren't offered 40 days ago before this shutdown started. To be clear, there's more in the Democratic Party that agree with this. These 8, it's called the rotating villains, they call it.
That's right. Yeah.
These are the 8 that are, putting their bodies, on the firing squad, so to speak. But there's plenty of other Democrats that want this deal, including Chuck Schumer. I don't care that he voted no. That's bullshit. He's the Senate minority leader. If he didn't want this deal, he would get those people in line and make sure they did not vote for this. Nancy Pelosi, say whatever you want about her, and sayonara, she's retiring finally, but she cracked the whip and people did not vote against her. And if Chuck Schumer was really against this, these 8 would not be, maybe Fetterman would, but the other ones would not. Before I play,
when it's just enough to pass the bill, that's a red flag. That's a sign right there.
All right, let's get to some of these corporate whores. Jane Shaheen, New Hampshire senator, and also we should point out none of them are up for re-election next year, and they waited till Democrats won resoundingly in the New Jersey governor's race, the Virginia governor's race, New York City mayor's race, even though the Democrats don't support the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, or now the mayor-elect, and many other elections, including the Democrats cutting in Mississippi, cutting the Republican supermajority. They broke the supermajority in Mississippi, of all places. Yep. But let me play this absolute mind-numbing word salad.
Can you give us an idea, and our viewers an idea, what happened behind the scenes to have you, Senator Kaine, Angus King, Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, and John Fetterman, as well as Maggie Hassan and Dick Durbin, all come together to get to the 60 threshold? Can you bring us behind the scenes for that?
Well, there had been discussions going on really since the shutdown about how could we work together to end this. How could we make sure that we can address healthcare costs for the millions of Americans who are seeing their healthcare costs rise as the result of the bill that was passed in the summer that the president wanted. And so I think this agreement gives us an opportunity to continue to do that work. We're going to have a vote, and I believe there are a number of Republicans who are going to join us in trying to address healthcare costs for Americans, but we're also turning the government back on. We're making sure that the people of America can get the food benefits that they need, that air traffic controllers can get paid, that federal workers are able to come back, the ones who were let go, that they get paid, that contractors get paid, that aviation moves forward. So we are going to be able to continue to fight about health care.
Your thoughts?
Well, first I wanted to ask the audience if that sounded low to them. It did on my end. I just wanted to double check on that. And
it probably did, because I'm operating the tech. So I apologize. I apologize in advance.
It sounds like a bunch of excuses to me, because everything that she enlisted there were things that the Democrats could have done previously. They could have done when they had a majority. They could have filibustered on and prevented in the past. So this didn't start yesterday, and this didn't start out of a vacuum, and this didn't just start under Trump's presidency. everything she was talking about, from healthcare to housing to SNAP benefits, where we are now, we've led up to this because of decisions that the Democratic Party has made, and as well as the Republicans. Of course, the Republicans are to blame as well, but it's also decisions that the Republicans have made to placate their donor base over the people and to vote in line with Republicans over and over again. And this is just another example.
Let me play this one. It's from Jane Shaheen also. I think the volume should be a little bit better.
Thank you. Yeah.
You say you're fighting on the Affordable Care Act. What do you say to your colleagues who say this isn't a fight, this is a capitulation? You're putting together, you're agreeing to a vote on a bill that it almost certainly will not become law, and you're allowing that to happen.
Well, first of all, there was, as long as the government shut down, the clear statement from Senator Thune and the Republican majority, and they control the Senate, the House, the White House, was we will not talk about health care with you. So there was no vote that we were going to get on the Affordable Care Act, premium tax credits. We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write. Not that the Republicans will write, although I do think it's important for us to engage with them, because we need a bipartisan bill that we know is going to get enacted to provide the relief that Americans need.
Was that any better?
The audio was a little bit better. It was still a little low.
Okay, gotcha.
I was shaking my head more at her than I was the volume.
So I have a lot to say here, Zaina, and if you'll allow me to go on a little rant.
Please
And I've been actually trying to avoid Starbucks because of how they treat their workers. We will be covering the Starbucks workers strike on Thursday. There is a strike happening around the country, but today I needed it because I can't function because I'm not sleeping. So apologize for being a sellout on camera. I do admire and respect my union brother and sisters there at Starbucks, but I don't like the company. With that said, I have to, there's a lot of fire and anger being aimed at these corporate sellouts. But I also, and I don't hear enough of this coming from the progressive left, I need to bring up some other names that aren't being talked about, Zaina, and you and I were texting about it. Where is AOC right now? Where is Rashida Tlaib, who I happen to love and think is a Rough Rider? She's like actually one of the few squad members who I think has been incredibly consistent.
I agree.
Cori Bush obviously is out. Who's left after that? Bernie, is Bernie. But you have an incredible moment right now to change the narrative, to change the discussion, to point out, why are we even fighting for Obamacare subsidies that go to corporate healthcare? These subsidies, these premium tax credits they're talking about, this just goes to insurance companies. It's not going into the pockets of American people. It's not tax cuts for Americans. The subsidies are literally money from the government going to for-profit insurance companies. And we have corporate Democrats and their media sycophants talking about this, how like this is middle-class relief we're fighting for. No, it's not. Of course, in the short term, yes, prices are going to skyrocket. But this, even Jane Shaheen in her talking points there was saying to give the masses immediate health care relief. It's not immediate health care relief. Even if they got the Republicans to go along and extend these tax subsidies. Again, it's just tax subsidies. Let's just change the word. It's just money going to insurance companies. That's what the Democratic Party is fighting for. Money to go to insurance companies, not money to go to you.
Corporate welfare.
Right. But why aren't we changing the discussion? Hey, isn't it a really bad system? I know we were gaslit into by MSNBC and the Democratic Party in 2016 and 2020, and we heard it on the debate stage. Oh, we got to protect the holy, sacred private health insurance and the choice Americans want. Well, isn't this a really bad system if it could just be weaponized depending on who's in power and what autocrat wants to toy with you, that to have even somewhat affordable, and it's not affordable, by the way, healthcare, we need to rely on tax subsidies from the government to go to insurance companies. This is the moment right now. You know, the left for years was fighting about forced to vote and saying this was the moment to pounce. Well, I would argue this is the moment for progressives to pounce and be campaigning and messaging and screaming, we need to get rid of this system. Why? Because you actually have normie Democrats finally listening. Normie Democrats are the ones who voted for Obama, who voted for Biden, who voted for Hillary. They're the ones that have been out at the No Kings protests that we've been covering, screaming against the corporate Democratic establishment. They've been moving further to the left because they're finally getting what we got 20 years ago, that this is a corporate party that's not going to fight for you. So why is, and again, I'm not trying to pick on AOC for clicks, but you have an incredibly gifted communicator in AOC, Rashida Tlaib. Bernie, why aren't they leading the march right now? Or they're on the steps of the Capitol saying, yeah, this is proof. We need universal health care.
But Jordan, she made a tweet. We'll have it later in the show.
But am I wrong? Like, they're arguing about saving tax subsidies that are literally going to Aetna, United Healthcare, who kills people, instead of, hey, this is proof positive. This is a horrible system. Not to mention, we have AI replacing jobs and firing people. So all these people being fired because our fucked up system has their healthcare tied to jobs, they're not going to have healthcare. I mean, I could go on. I just don't understand why you just had resounding victories for Zoran Mamdani. You know, these two right-wing Democrats, if you ask me, Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill. But the point is, it was because people are fed up with Trump, fed up with Republicans. It's not because they're in love with corporate Democrats. And healthcare. I mean, you put this together, Zaina, or you found this. I mean, Medicare for all is overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly, among Democrats, among independents, even Republicans. When certain polls are worded a certain way, even Republicans are at 50%. So I just think this was a moment that they are squandering. Yes, you could argue, and people will argue, well, Jordan, yes, but when the house is on fire, you have to put the house out. So right now they have to focus on saving the subsidies so that prices don't skyrocket 20 to 40% on January 1st. Hey, you want to know my answer? You could do both. You could do both. Sure, they should be screaming to extend what I think is a corporate blowjob to insurance companies. That's what Obamacare was and is. But you have the moment right now where healthcare is top of mind for the American people. More normie Democrats who bought into this bullshit. We have to protect the choice between government and private healthcare. Right now is the moment to pounce on Medicare for all, and I don't hear progressives doing that. Am I missing something here?
No, you're absolutely right. And the irony is I have seen a little bit, and we may show this later, a little bit from like Ro Khanna and others, but they're still kind of walking that tightrope. And it's very frustrating because in 2017, if I can have a moment just to tell a little story, in 2017, when I was working with Justice Democrats, John Conyers wrote a bill for Medicare for all. He had always had one. We did Brand New Congress and Justice Democrats got behind this bill that was co-sponsored by Ro Khanna, and we started a national push for Medicare for all. We ended up garnering more than 160 signatures for this bill from representatives in Congress, which I think is awesome, but it didn't go, nothing came from it, but that was an accomplishment. But then I watched as every single one of those representatives, nearly every single one, and even people like AOC started rolling back, talking about Medicare for all. So they came out of the gate in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. You remember, Jordan, people were talking about Medicare for all. We pushed Bernie to release a bill for Medicare for all. Bernie didn't come out the gate with it. John Conyers and Ro Khanna did. They pushed a bill. Bernie came out with a bill a little bit later. That was great. So we saw them walk it back. And now we're at the point where there's not even a discussion of it anymore. Some of these people in Senate are people that ran on a presidential ticket for Medicare for All and are now or ran for their seat for Medicare for All the last time that they ran. And now they're saying we have to save these subsidies to the health insurance companies, and subsidies to health insurance companies, like you so well put, is just it's more welfare. It's more privatization. So the abandonment of it it's been infuriating over the last 2 or 3 years.
I just think that, the term Overton window is used a lot in politics, and, people argue, well, great. It's great to move the discussion and move the, what's possible. That's what the Overton window is, like the idea of what's possible. It's great to move it over closer towards us, but that doesn't actually get the policy enacted. Yes, but eventually you move the Overton window to a point where it's now kind of a litmus test for even normies that you have to be for certain things. Like, look how far things have shifted on the issue of Israel just in the last 3 years, where now, the majority of Democratic voters are more sympathetic to Palestinians and more pro-Palestine than Israel. And I would argue, right?
I would see that, and I'm glad to see it. Yeah.
So now I would argue the majority, not just of Democrats, independents, and even Republicans, however you want to phrase it, would be for a government healthcare system. Okay. And when you have an opportunity where they're literally out there, like, rallying, save the subsidies. It's the most backwards thing. No, this is the opportunity. They should be out on the streets. They should be out on the steps of the Capitol, leading protests, digital organizing, whatever you want during a government shutdown. That this is proof that this system doesn't work. This is proof we shouldn't need subsidies to afford life or death health care, that in every other country, it says it's a right of being a citizen. Sure, you pay maybe a little bit more in taxes, but you get a lot more. And by the way,
majority of countries in the world have some form of universal health care. We're so far behind on this.
I think it is a major L, even on behalf of Bernie. Bernie's been preaching Medicare for all forever, so I can't be that hard on him. But I don't hear him using this moment to say, hey, I told you so. Enough of this bullshit. He kind of sort of says during interviews, well, I'm not the biggest fan of Obamacare, but we need to save this. Great. But you should be using this moment to lead. And we just saw Zoran Mamdani in a historic victory, and he's got however many young people that organize for him. They could get on board with this messaging too. So I think it's a big missed opportunity. And it is what it is. They just folded. Speaking of, let me show you more, because this is literally going to be used in Republican campaign ads. What this fool, Angus King. Did you see what this guy said? Angus King?
Yeah, I pulled this clip too.
Oh my God.
Take a listen to this guy. I was furious.
You cannot give a better endorsement for Donald Trump, i.e. an authoritarian, growingly worse and worse fascist, than this.
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were two goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was there was zero likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power. Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. Oh, by the way, Joe, you're going to love this. Guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big, awful bill that they passed last summer, the ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power.
Standing up
to Donald Trump gave him more power somehow.
I just want to make a point, Zaina, and you are much smarter than this than I am, because you've been involved with political campaigns. You've been a speechwriter. You've fundraised. You've done quite a lot. And for those that don't know, literally, Zaina, in part, was the brains behind AOC back in 2018. You were working for Justice Democrats. A lot of what she said was written by you as a speechwriter. But literally, that standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. That's literally that's going to be in a Trump email to me. It probably already is, and I haven't seen it yet. It's going to be in RNC ads. It's going to be in Super PAC ads.
Right.
And secondly, you're a fucking moron because it did work. That's why these people need to be out of office. Besides the fact that they are wrong on the policy and don't, frankly, care about their constituents, it did work. You just won in New Jersey. You just won in Virginia. You just won in New York City. They won races in Georgia, Democrats. They won races in Mississippi. There was ballot measure victories that were very for progressives last election. There was a lot of progressive victories, but more importantly, an anti-Trump vote. That's because voters, including a lot of people who voted for Trump a year ago, just look at the swing of Latino voters from the right back to the Democrats. Look at Trump won Gen Z men, like 18 to 30, whatever, by a decent margin. That swung all the way back. Zoran won Gen Z men by 40 points. They voted for Trump, I think, by a few points. So that was standing up to Trump. These No Kings protests, which I'm not going to lie to you, we covered it. I wasn't completely in love with it because I think there needs to be an economic component here, not just protests and feet on the ground, but boycotts, economic strikes, but whatever. Millions of people came out. So this idea, standing up to Trump didn't work. You just won an election like literally less than a week ago. And by the way, do you not realize that the longer, I understand, to be clear, we don't want to use the American people in a game of chicken. There are people hurting from this shutdown. The food stamps.
That's not what you're suggesting. You're not saying acceleration is people suffer, people starve in order to, beat the Republicans. That's not the argument you're making.
But here is my argument. We're about a week and a half from Thanksgiving. You really don't think that if the Democratic Party, if they would have held firm and moved this along to Thanksgiving, you think the Democratic Party is going to be blamed for that? Or the Republican Party that has all three levels of government? The party in power gets blamed for a shutdown most of the time.
Democrats say this every time that they're the majority, Jordan, when they say that they have to compromise with the Republicans to avoid a government shutdown when the Republicans are holding out for a government shutdown, because that's happened before. The Democrats always say we have to compromise, we have to move to prevent this because those that are in power are the ones who are going to be blamed. And that's the irony of it. That is what Chuck Schumer has said before. That is what Nancy Pelosi has said before. That's their excuse every time for capitulating to the Republicans when they're the ones in power and for watering down their bills.
And I would just like to ask, just forget politics from a common sense perspective. Really, what they got here is kind of like a Band-Aid where the Republicans, they're not reversing the layoffs of government workers they've done already. What they got the Republicans to agree to is they won't do any more RIFs, which are reduction in forces. So they didn't get reversals of the tens of thousands, maybe more, government workers that the Trump administration has laid off. They're still laid off. Just a promise not to lay any more off.
Education completely, no.
Yeah. They didn't get, by the way, it is illegal what Trump was doing to block the SNAP benefits. A judge ruled you have to distribute the SNAP benefits. He was disregarding it, just like Border Patrol has been disregarding judges' rulings, which we have covered in Chicago. So you basically allowed him to break the law and then say, hey, this reinstates SNAP. Now, you could argue, well, Jordan, people are starving, so yes, but the point is even with the government open, the Trump administration is still trying to starve people. They're cutting people's Medicaid. They're cutting food assistance. They're cutting food programs. They're cutting youth programs. So I just think
the new work requirements have gone in for SNAP benefits. And considering that there is an upwards of 500,000 people poised to be laid off over the next, 3 or 4 months, that's an insane number due to AI, due to cuts. There's work requirements up to 20 hours a week, or you have to volunteer with the federal government and unpaid labor in order to get your SNAP benefits. And that just went into effect in November. So even with funding this and the government being open again, people are now facing these new stringent work requirements that are unrealistic when it's very difficult to find a job right now.
And by the way, to be clear, and I know like people have become numb to this and the media doesn't report this like they should, they are caving to things that were illegal in the first place. Let me repeat, the Democratic Party, the 8 that went on record is going against this. Like we said in the beginning, there's a lot more that agree with it and just are voting no, like for cover, but they want to vote yes. So they are caving to illegal things. Trump had no legal standing to block funding during a government shutdown to blue cities and give funding to red cities. The president can't block funding to cities, states, because that funding was passed by Congress. It's illegal, but he was doing it because he doesn't care, and the courts apparently let him do whatever he wants. The president can't unilaterally cut food stamps or give partial payments. That's why a court. So basically, their argument is, hey, this is going to restore food stamps. This is going to restore all these things. There was no legal. It was illegal to cut them in the first place. This is like, you're basically caving to a terrorist and then arguing, well, we stopped the bombs. Okay, but he's not going to stop being a political terrorist. He's just going to move on to the next thing now that the government is open. I could go on forever. Let's listen to Bernie Sanders on the floor of the Senate last night.
I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today. Everybody in America knows that our current healthcare system is broken. It is dysfunctional. It is cruel. It is by far the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and the only healthcare system of any major country that does not guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited incomes for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense? And if this resolution is passed tonight, we are on a pathway to throw 15 million Americans off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. 15 million. Our job is to create universal health care. Guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, not throw 15 million people.
So it kind of snuck in the messaging you and I were talking about, but again, you kind of have I think, because the thing is, basically, I think 2016, 2020 during his campaign, a little more. I don't think the normie Democrats were quite ready for what Bernie was selling. I think they agreed on the policy, but I don't think they were angry enough, right? At the party, at the Democratic Party. Now, I think they're where we were, maybe not where we were, but closer to where we were 10 years ago. So now you have open ears and eyes to your message. And I think a lot of those normies that were anti-Bernie and anti-Medicare for all are now more receptive to it. So I think this is the moment to lead the charge, saying, yes, we need to, avoid going off the cliff in January, but that's just step one. Now we need to demand and say, we will not vote for any Democratic candidate, Congress, Senate, mayor, president, that is not for Medicare for all, vowing that will be fight number one. We won't vote for them, period. End of story. Litmus test number one. And that should be the messaging, and we're not hearing that, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
I will say, even the ladies of The View, I mean, these are the original wine moms, okay? They are fed up with the Democratic Party. I will play you, Whoopi Goldberg was not happy, but this is, I believe, Sunny Huston, who's one of the gals there. She was, well, I'll play Whoopi, I guess, first.
You all treat us, tell you what's been going on. The big negotiate to extend health threw in the towel by siding with the GOP to advance a vote that could lead to the government reopening. And they tried to explain themselves to their unhappy colleagues. Take a look.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues.
Vote.
I mean, the 50-50 chance of negotiating health care subsidies. I just remember all of the people who were coming in and hoping that people would vote them in and say, yes, you can be this person, or you can be a judge, or you can be this. And they all said, no, we're not going to mess with anything. No, we're going to leave everything as it was. I have no faith that they're going to negotiate and come back to the table. And I'm glad that folks, maybe, because again, we have seen, you say this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen.
Right.
So surprise me and show me that this is really, that people are going to get their money, that people are going to get the money. That
are coming.
Yeah.
This federal government and federal employment but SNAP benefits. This was a choice by this country, but buying the holiday House, the Republicans run the Senate, the Republicans run the White House, the Republicans run the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. This was a choice by Republicans to cut SNAP benefits. This was a choice by Republicans to cut ACA subsidies. This was a choice by the Republicans to gut the federal government and federal employment. Democrats had nothing to do with it. I want an opposition party. I think the Democrats caved. I think the Democrats let down the American people. And like you, Whoopi, I have absolutely no faith that the Republican Party will come to the negotiating table in good faith. You do something like this, shame on you the first time. You do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over.
I mean, to be clear, rah, rah sounds nice for The View, but these ladies are all multi-billionaires. The point is, what we're rallying about here on cable news is save the subsidies to corporate insurance companies. They're not rallying for Medicare for all, and that's what people need to start rallying for. Let's renew, let's re-jolt the fight for Medicare for all, because you're not hearing it enough from AOC. You're not hearing it enough. I mean, you're hearing it plenty from Bernie, obviously, but this is the moment to say, hey, maybe we need to tear this system down. This is proof, because subsidies are not enough. We're already hanging off a cliff between housing, groceries, utilities, our jobs being replaced by AI. We can't afford, to have the highest bankruptcy rates due to highest medical debt. We can't afford, because by the way, just to be clear, folks, because you've seen people posting on social media how, their healthcare bills, what it is now, and what it's going to go up to. But if you erase what it's going to go up to, it's still too damn high now, even with the subsidies. For example, when the Young Turks fired me ages ago, I looked at Obamacare. It was going to be like $800 a month in New York for like a bronze plan. And that's just per month. That's not even before paying your copays. That's just to have the right to then pay a copay, to then pay a deductible. It's insane. This is a giant
when they
rip.
say, how do we pay for it? The truth is we already are. So.
Exactly. And you mentioned
our health and our lives, or our copays, deductibles, and premiums.
You mentioned Ro Khanna. I thought he probably said it the best way, because he said this is really just about Democrats, being scared to piss off their donors. Still caving to donors. Let's take a look.
It's just political malpractice. Here you have Donald Trump on the ropes, scrambling, trying to make some deal. And we basically say, well, we don't care if the premiums go up. Like, what do we stand for? So he needs to be replaced and step down. More Democrats need to be calling for that. The only reason they aren't calling for it, let me be blunt, is because you offend a lot of donors. There are a lot of billionaires. There are a lot of donors that contribute to the DSCC, that contribute to Chuck Schumer. But, we've got to make a choice of this party. Are we going to be beholden to the donors that have gotten us 2 terms of Donald Trump, or are we going to listen to people?
Beholden to donors. What do you think about that? Because it seems to me, I don't know, if you got 5 million people out for the first No Kings protest, you have 7 million people out for the second. That seems like a pretty hefty small dollar army that you could keep going back to, like Bernie did, $27 at a time. And if you actually cared about policy and the majority will, the people are showing you. I mean, obviously, people are in tough straits economically, but you can run. You can, if you've been a longtime corporate whore and dollaring for dollars, you can kind of shift, because people are showing you now they want a fighting party and they're willing to chip in for campaigns that are going to be for Medicare for all and fight the establishment. But what he's saying is basically these 8 are caving out to the donors, and even the Democrats that are voting no, it's just a show vote. They're just voting no because these 8 others, kind of took the sword, so to speak.
Yeah, Ro Khanna's right. I agree with him there. I'll also say that there's 2 factors. One, yeah, of course, 100% are the donors. And I think the second factor is the ego, and the fact that a lot of these people are from deep privilege. They're from wealth. They don't want to pass any kind of bills that are going to challenge their stockholder portfolios, challenge their insider trading, challenge their wealth, challenge their seats, even potentially. They don't want, obviously they don't want, but the Democratic Party doesn't want primaries challenging their incumbents. They're an incumbent protection machine, and we have seen that. They protect the people that are already seated rather than bringing in new, fresh eyes to the House and Senate. And they've been doing this for forever. I mean, I remember when Nancy Pelosi blocked consulting firms from Democratic primary candidates who dared to challenge an incumbent, and threatened to block the tools that you need in order to run a campaign that the Democratic Party is supposed to provide. So the next step is we've got an election in 2026. And sure, there was kind of a blue wave. I think Mamdani's win was fantastic, but there weren't that many races this time around. I do think that it does show that people are moving on this somewhat, or at least they had people that were speaking. I don't think that it was just a referendum on Trump, even though I think that was part of it. I think it was also the policy. And the last thing I'll say is there was one thing I wanted to say about Sunny, and then I'll shut up. Sunny Holston, there was one thing she didn't mention through that whole diatribe she gave, and that was anything about policy. There was not one point of policy. All that she was worried about at that moment was team sports and her team winning. She didn't say anything about what kind of policies they need to pass or what kind of policies need to get done. And that's a problem.
Well, I would like to tee up, and thank you for the super sticker, Lisa. I would like to tee up the great Zaina Day to make a great point, because you mentioned to me, I think last week, in the election of last week, even though there wasn't a lot of races, what did happen kind of proved the point you've been making for years, is that Democrats have basically forfeited the ground all across the country, and they just choose not to run in a staggering amount of cities, towns, where they could be competitive, but they just choose not to run. And last week's election, wasn't there some races that were Democrats actually chose to run and were more competitive?
Absolutely. I mean, the races in Georgia that we saw, I think there were some special elections, was it Arizona, and as well as the Virginia races. We've had back and forth on Virginia, whether or not people run in that state, and they've continued to hand it back over to the Republicans. And I mean, I will say there's not been a lot of emphasis on the lieutenant governor that won. What is her name? I thought I wrote it down here. But it was a Muslim woman, a progressive Muslim woman, won the lieutenant gubernatorialship there, because in Virginia there's a race for that position. The governor doesn't just pick who it is. And I thought that was amazing, because she ran on healthcare for the state and on very progressive policies.
Absolutely. Let me keep going here because hold on one second. Oh,
Jordan,
yeah, one more.
One other thing to what you're saying is, if they want to sweep in this next election cycle, they're going to have to run. They're going to have to run up and down the ballot. They can't just focus on Congress. They can't just focus on federal races. They're going to have to run locally too, and they're going to have to do a ground game, because ultimately, why Mamdani won is because he had 50,000 volunteers out on the ground knocking doors for him. They were literally going and talking to people, and they were out in the community. You don't run and win just on social media and TV ads alone.
Absolutely. And I just want to make a final point before we switch to another topic. I don't think what we're seeing now, I think there's a connection to the murder of the United Healthcare CEO almost a year ago. And frankly, the large support for Luigi Mangione, the alleged shooter. And what I mean by that, because obviously on its face, the two are not connected. But you saw after the CEO was killed, other than the usual elite suspects in the media, you saw for one topic, the left and the right were in agreement. Remember, Ben Shapiro was stunned when his audience was turning against him when he was shitting on Luigi Mangione. His audience was saying, yeah, Ben, we're not with you on this. MAGA was saying, yeah, whatever, I'm not saying go out and murder people, but we're not losing sleep over this guy who was murdered. We have covered the Luigi Mangione case more than anyone. And it's not, an army of supporters because they like this Italian kid, right? And again, alleged, he should have a fair trial. But
Absolutely.
the point is that the Luigi Mangione case and the murder of the United Healthcare CEO shows the masses, left, right, libertarian, doesn't matter. No labels politically. They hate the for-profit health insurance scam to the point that an alleged murderer essentially has an overwhelming amount of support in the country. I don't know the polls, but it's not a small amount of Americans that support him, or at least support him to have a fair trial, or at least say, it was bound to happen sometime, right? So those two, that means the tide on healthcare has dramatically shifted even from 2016. Because if you asked on the policy, I believe most people supported Medicare for all in 2016. But on the politics now, most people cannot be gaslit anymore by MSNBC, the Democratic Party, into eat your broccoli and hold sacred your holy private health insurance and your sacred choice between private health and government. That's out the window. Most people don't buy that anymore, including normie Democrats. So I just think the Democratic Party, maybe because they just don't want workers to have these things. They don't want Americans to have these things because they probably realize, hey, if we actually like give healthcare as a right, what else are they going to ask for? What else is the pro? They're not going to stop at healthcare. They're going to want like, I don't know, fucking like jobs and shit. They're going to want like corporations to be taxed at like a reasonable rate. So I just think it's a totally missed opportunity. With that said, smash that like button, share this live stream. Let me also give shout outs because as I said in the beginning of the stream, we've been on the ground in Chicago for a month and a half. It's been incredibly expensive. So thank you to the new subscribers. Last month we gained almost we gained 31,000 YouTube subscribers last month.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a great month. This month we're up about 5,000 so far. But more importantly, last month we gained 600 paid members, which is huge for us. Why is that huge? It's incredibly expensive, folks. It's expensive to be on the ground for a day anywhere, let alone for a month. Flights, hotels, rent a car, gas, safety equipment. We had to get JT and our cameraman, the basically like full-blown oxygen masks because they're being gassed by Border Patrol and ICE. That was expensive. I love John Farina, but he gave me a call the other day. Minor car accident with the rental car. That's going to cost. It wasn't his fault, but whatever. That's going to cost us money. All of this combined, and when we sent John home so he could be with his daughter, or we sent JT home, we've hired freelancers to replace them, cameramen. So the point is, it's expensive to be on the ground. That's one of the main reasons there's so little independent on the ground reporting, because it's expensive and most outlets don't want to do it because it's exhausting and it's hard and it's not immediate clicks, right? But we think it's important because we're gonna show you some of the clips we've been doing. You're not seeing this from any other outlet but us because we're there capturing this. So shout out, by the way, a new Status Coup member just signed up. Austin, Merlin signed up while we've been live. Sandy, Booty Shaker, that's what it says here. So I doubt that's your name, but cool. Rick, Carrie, and Mark. That's in the last day. So please sign up. If you can't sign up, no shame. But if you have $5 a month, that's all I'm asking. You could sign up as low as $5 a month. And fingers crossed, we're going to try to do our monthly members call later this week. As a member, we do a monthly members call with our members. It's on video. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to be on. You could just listen. But it's kind of like through a program like Zoom. So that's a perk of being a member. You also get discounts if you're a member through our website for merchandise. And we do behind the scenes videos for our members. So Zaina, I don't know if you saw this. Oh, speak of the devil. Welcome, new Status Coup member. Information Man. There we're going.
Welcome.
So John, who is just a machine, John Farina, he calls me the other day. Excuse me. Let me start with the JT report here. So JT was on the ground for us over the weekend, and he heard that shots were fired near a Border Patrol raid. So he went there in Chicago, and what do you know? Shots were fired, and ICE claimed that those shots were fired at them. What evidence did they provide? Zero. Let me show you some of the clips. I'm kind of going to scroll backwards and forward. Again, this is our reporter, JT, on the ground. But very important, pay attention, because there is zero evidence Border Patrol was shot at, yet they are now arresting somebody claiming that he shot at them. Here we go.
JT Siskowski for Status Coup. I'm here in Chicago's Hispanic Little Village neighborhood, where here in this street behind me, Department of Homeland Security agents claim that they were shot at on Saturday while attempting to rip a woman out of her car. In video that we obtained, you can hear what sounds like gunshots, and you can see how the agents reacted.
¡Córrele, córrele!
Respect my neighborhood. Respect
They got the bear? They got the, no, he doesn't have them.
no warrants. You have no warrant.
You don't need a warrant.
Yeah, you see how stupid you are? You're talking shit.
Hey, what the fuck is your problem? She's not doing anything. Hey, let them fucking go. Let them fucking go. You blocked yourself in. How the fuck is she supposed to move? Hey, what the fuck is your problem?
In the video, you can see agents chasing people down the street. You can see them ripping that woman out of her car. You can hear the pleas from bystanders telling the agents to leave people alone, to let them go. And then you can hear the gunshots. It's important to note that we hear what sounds like gunshots, but we can't verify that that is what they are because you do not see the gun, you do not actually see the firing, you just see the agents respond. The Department of Homeland Security claims that those shots were fired from a black Jeep. We don't see that vehicle in the video. And if you think that I am taking everything that the Department of Homeland Security is saying with a huge grain of salt, well, that's for very good reason. Even federal judges have said that the Department of Homeland Security is not a trustworthy actor, that they cannot trust what the Department of Homeland Security and its agents are saying.
So there's a lot to get to there. Number one, I want to zero in on a few things that you heard in the video. And by the way, apologies that the quality of the video wasn't great, but that's how it was. It wasn't our video. JT ran to the scene, but the original footage wasn't from us, and it was in very low quality footage. Number one, did you hear Zaina, him say, we don't need a warrant?
Yeah,
they've
stuck out to me.
They do need a warrant according to the United States Constitution. They do need a warrant according to the U.S. Constitution, U.S. courts. However, they have been lost your camera, by the way, Zaina.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It went out for some reason. I'm still
okay.
here. You can drop me down for a second if you need to. I'll be
Okay.
right.
No problem. They do need a warrant. They do need a warrant. They've been doing these raids and making these arrests with no warrants. Zero. Number two, did you hear, and we've seen this repeatedly, them screaming, she's a U.S. citizen. She's a U.S. citizen. They have been, I literally gotten, behind the scenes here. I got into it with my MAGA father because you can't pierce their bubble. They don't, first of all, it's not okay, even if they're doing this to undocumented people. But since MAGA people don't seem to care about undocumented people, I tried breaking through to my father and saying, they're literally rounding up U.S. citizens because they don't care. They're not even checking. And even if they get it wrong, they're detaining U.S. citizens, in some cases for days. That kind of broke through a little bit with my dad. But the point is, they're stating, first of all, they're wearing masks to conceal themselves. Then they're saying they don't need warrants. They do. Then they're dragging U.S. citizens out of their car, who, by the way, in many cases, as we'll show you in a little bit, have children in the car. So you're traumatizing children. And then, to be clear, we don't know where those shots came from. I listened several times. Not that I'm a gun expert. It did sound to me like gunshots. Other people said it could be something else. It could be paintball. Whatever it was, they were some type of shots, right? But the point is, in that video, we don't see who was shot at. We don't see where the shots came from. However, right away, you have DHS putting out that Border Patrol agents were shot at in Little Village, which is a majority I believe, Hispanic community, because they are targeting Hispanic communities in Chicago, black and brown neighborhoods. Now you have them arresting someone claiming that this is a illegal immigrant and that this person shot at Border Patrol, providing zero evidence.
No proof, no plausible reason for pulling them over. It's a violation of every bit of the Fourth and Fifth Amendment.
So let me play you this from Mr. Napoleon Complex, Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino, claiming that, or announcing that they have made an arrest in what I just showed you, even though there is no evidence they have provided. And to be clear, Greg Bovino, the Border Patrol chief, who is basically on speed dial with Stephen Miller all day. It came out in court that they're basically talking, and basically Bovino seems to be getting his marching orders from Stephen Miller, who I've compared to Joseph Goebbels.
Surprise.
But he had to admit in court that he basically made up that protesters threw a rock at him, and he justified that as the reason they released tear gas. They have been caught lying time and time and time again, but now we're supposed to believe what he's about to tell us. Let me show you this.
Tobin's reporting there, there is a suspect in custody, and according to Tobin's reporting there, you just heard they have been able to confirm he is also an illegal alien in this country.
That's right, Sandra and John, thanks for having me. It's good to see you. This is indeed an illegal alien that had a prior felony conviction for firearms. I just got off the phone with the FBI. They're doing a fantastic job alongside ATF and Chicago Police Department to wrap this case up pretty quickly. Within 48 hours, they already have a suspect, and they're pursuing additional leads now.
Just one suspect involved, additional leads, meaning there are more?
It's possible they're looking into that, but very possible there are others.
Again, zero evidence. For all I know, they just snagged around the corner some Mexican dude and pinned it on him. I mean, that is literally what we've been seeing. This Border Patrol ICE doing. They went into, as we showed you last week, they literally broke into a preschool daycare and went room to room, terrorizing preschool children. My daughter just started preschool. They went in room to room and dragged a preschool teacher out, scaring the living hell out of kids, the other teachers, the parents. So we're supposed to believe them that some illegal alien, which is an absurd term anyway, shot at them. I mean, the whole thing is absurd. Just think about it.
And did you notice, Jordan, how many? I was counting them when we were watching the video, and I counted nearly 30 police officers just from what I could see, not to mention the more than a dozen. I think it was more than a dozen there from what we could see in the video. I'm sure that there were more, likely more ICE agents and DSS agents or DHS agents. So you need 40 to 50 people to do an basically illegal search and seizure of a human being.
No, it's not basically. It's according to the Fourth Amendment, it's an illegal.
It's an illegal search and seizure. Of
They have no warrants.
Officer, they showed up like I don't know, like this guy was armed to the teeth or something. 50 police or 50 people, 50 different types of law enforcement for one guy.
And if you want if we had the technology to do it, if you want a perfect juxtaposition, if you want a perfect split screen, as this is going on, as the secret police are there in 40, 50 stormtroopers, you got cities around America at the same time that had food lines around the block, lines for food, because this monster, Trump, was blocking SNAP benefits and food relief. So you got all of these resources, almost $200 million, or excuse me, $200 billion ICE, Border Patrol got, DHS got in the big, beautiful bank robbery. And as a result, you have all of these, frankly, these are like the roided up steroidal maniacs that I went to high school with. the jocks that either, failed out of the academy or, got fired from their job at Applebee's or whatever it is. Not that that's a bad, nothing to be ashamed about being a waiter, but didn't quite make it in society. They're getting their $50,000 bonus and they're being handed a bazooka guns to go terrorize brown people. That's what this is. It's not fighting crime. It's not making communities safer. And by the way, somebody wrote in a comment to one of the videos, Jordan, you guys should be fair and go interview people in Chicago that want ICE there, so you would show the other side. I literally said to JT, just for the hell of it, and also so we could challenge them, can you try and find maybe one or two people to interview that are for this? He said, everyone I've asked, anywhere, I can't find one person in Chicago that is for this.
There's been a change across the country too. It's not just Chicago, Jordan. People are watching videos of ICE agents ramming into cars as a tactic. I saw another one today. They just rear-ended a guy with an infant in his back seat. Turns out they asked him for his ID. He's a U.S. citizen. They let him go. Rear-ended his car to stop him with a child in his backseat.
Is ICE going to be using money from their budget for the counseling, for the kids that they're traumatizing, for the parents that they're traumatizing? I don't think so, which is a great segue, by the way, because our great John Farina got this. I don't even think alarming is the term, like truly heinous dystopian footage. And it's hard to distinguish sometimes. I don't know if they're Border Patrol, ICE. They're kind of one and the same. But John got footage of Border Patrol agents, I believe it was, pointing a gun. It looked like the kid couldn't be any older than 6 or 7. Let's show you this. I want to show something one more time, okay? I'm not going to show the whole thing. I just want to show this one more time. Okay, so number one, because I saw people, and by the way, again, I'm taking my glasses off, Zaina, for emphasis. Do you see any other outlet on the ground getting this footage? Do you see any other outlet, mainstream or independent, on the ground for a month and a half. That's almost 2 months we've been on the ground. It's incredibly expensive. We've spent $12,000. We do not have United Healthcare funding us, folks. We do not have whichever Koch brother is left on this earth. We don't have Soros or Musk or the Waltons. We have you. If you want us to stay on the ground, we really, really need your support. We gained 600 paid members last month. If we could gain hundreds of paid members every month, we're in business. We could not only be in Chicago, we could be in a lot of other places. More importantly, we could expand. Frankly, just keeping it real, Colin behind the scenes, Michelle behind the scenes, myself, John, JT, we've all been working 7 days a week. I told Colin and Michelle, take off today. They've been working 7 days a week to get this footage out quickly. We have been on, JT and John have been on the ground on weekends because that's when shit's going on. So it's incredibly, forget the money for a second. We're all working around the clock and we don't have enough staff so that, people can work 5 days a week right now. And, then we have a reinforcement, so to speak. We don't have enough for that. So we want to expand, but we also want to avoid burning out because frankly, we're all kind of burning out. And JT, God bless him, our new reporter, he kind of said to me, this isn't going to be the pace forever, Jordan. I said, I hope not, man, because I might not be on the ground right now, but I'm working around the clock behind the scenes to get everything out there too. So please support us because it's not just that we're getting you this footage. We're at the protest giving voices to Americans out there being tear gassed, being shot at by less lethal munitions like stun grenades, pepper balls. We got footage showing you veterans being assaulted. It is extremely important work. I'm not saying that outlets that aren't out there on the ground don't have value, but there's very few outlets on the ground showing you what's going on. So if you have as little as 16 cents a day, please support us, statuscoup.com/join. It makes a huge difference. All right.
And it's a public, I want to say this too. It's a public service. This needs to be documented. It has to be documented. We're literally witnessing history right now.
Absolutely. But I want to make a few points. Number one, because I saw a bunch of MAGA morons when we posted that video saying, well, Jordan, that woman drove up on them and attacked the agents. You're literally entrapping her and her child by blocking them from leaving.
Yeah, what kind of bullshit roadblock was that? That wasn't a roadblock. It wasn't clear. There was another vehicle that she was attempting to get behind. So there's no clear demarcation. They're not giving any traffic signals. There's nothing. When you pull up to a roadblock, which we call fundraisers around here, at the end of the month when cops are trying to make their quota, we're always like, hey, watch out down there by the creek. There's a roadblock. But anyway, one of the things that we always see are flashing lights. We see, and of course, I've got 1,000 criticisms of the police, but this is true. We see flashing lights. We see a roadblock. We see someone directing traffic. This is just people surrounding people that are from a neighborhood or just happen to be driving through a neighborhood at any given moment. And think about how startling and scary that is to be surrounded by men with semi-automatic weapons strapped to their chest, dressed up in army fatigues, with your child in the car.
And think about how scary it is, even if you are a U.S. citizen, because if you're brown, there's a 70% chance they're about to drag you out of your car and send you to Broadview or the ICE detention center. So when you are entrapping them, you are not allowing her to drive past you. She didn't run them over. She didn't try to go, 50 miles an hour. She kind of like inched up and they go recklessly pointing their gun at her child who's screaming, guys, don't do anything. We got the subtitle up. Guys, don't do anything. Do you know how many things can go wrong with untrained agents? Your gun could go off accidentally. That's happened before with the police as they, terrorize unarmed black men. So many things could go wrong there. But this guy goes up pointing, because they're not even looking who's in the car. They're pointing at the mother, but by pointing at the mother, you're also pointing at the son, because his neck, he's kind of hovering a little bit outside the window, trying to get them to stop. That's fucked up in America when literally, I don't know how old he was, didn't look older than 6 or 7 to me. They have to take the initiative to protect their mothers from the stormtroopers. I mean,
state of affairs. That's sad as hell.
And at some point, and people have made this argument, and I think it's true, I believe they're actually trying to create the violence. I think Trump is trying to create the violence, stoke violence, stoke a response from the people, get them to be violent, basically out of desperation, to protect themselves, to then have a rationalization and a justification, invoke the Insurrection Act, full military rule, suspend habeas corpus, have fucking, military checkpoints around every corner, and just basically cancel elections. And I'm not trying to be...
Major things happened in the last week as well. You have the court case coming up about birthright citizenship. The arguments being made is that somebody like me might not be considered a citizen. It could potentially, now they're arguing that it could potentially be Trump's team, Trump's set of lawyers are arguing that it could potentially be retroactive. So someone who has one parent that's an immigrant, depending on their immigration status, you might not have birthright citizenship. Even if your other parent, even if your entire family are from here, that's insane. The second thing that they are trying to do, and then that makes me worry even more for people that also have just citizenship, who gain citizenship in this country or existing on visas. Another thing that Trump just released was a memorandum against an anti-communism memorandum, essentially. So bringing back the Red Scare, bringing back McCarthyism, full steam ahead, full McCarthyite. And if you guys don't know who Senator McCarthy is, he is someone who blacklisted, hunted. He was a U.S. senator who blacklisted, hunted, sought after socialist and communist in, what was it, the 50s and the 60s, Jordan?
Yep.
And ruined people's lives, smeared people, ruined people's lives, put them in jail. And Trump's memorandum is bringing that back. So on top of everything that's going on with ICE, there's these other administrative things that are being coupled with it. Because how long might it be that then he turns the National Guard and ICE into a into a force out there hunting for communists? And then are they going to then turn their ire to New York City, who just elected a Democratic socialist? There's just there's a lot of ways this can go.
Come January 1st, they might be hunting the communist mayor of New York City, which he's not even a communist. Honestly, I don't even think he's a real socialist. I call him a social democrat. What he's proposing is considered it's just considered like slightly to the left of center in Europe.
It's centrism in England. This is centrism in England.
Yes, but it's communism to the fucking MAGA fucking morons. It's absurd. But I'll tell you, this stuff we're getting pretty soon.
Anti-communism week. So after Mamdani won, Trump declared this week anti-communism week, folks.
Well, get your hats, get your MAGA communism hats. So I want to show these clips too. And again, this reporting I think is important. I know I sound like a broken record, but Mama told me if you don't advocate for yourself, nobody will. We don't have an army. We don't have a big advertising. Actually, we have no advertising budget. I don't have a business development person. We don't have massive funders. And just straight up, just so you guys know, I've turned down in the last month three advertising offers. Not that I'm 1000% against, having ads beyond just YouTube's default ads. I'm not necessarily against, running ads or having a sponsor, because we do need to fund this reporting. And it costs a lot. But I'm not going to hawk ads of corporations or entities
You're not
that
going
do
to
not.
do Birch Gold and
No.
like fake testosterone supplements.
You know, for example, I got an offer over the last week for a sponsor that it would have been $5,000 once we hit 150,000 views. So basically, if we would have ran this company's ads in our videos, once we got to 150,000 views, basically, once we ran their ads in enough videos where the cumulative view count was 150,000 views, which some of our videos just individually are getting that now, which is amazing. We would have got $5,000. That might not sound like a lot to you. $5,000 is a lot for an independent outlet. That could cover basically a week and a half in Chicago, right? But I said no because I looked, and frankly, the company has really bad reviews, and a lot of it's AI based. And I thought to myself, you know what? I could take the money, and that would help us, but I don't want to hawk stuff that I really don't believe in. I want to hawk stuff that is aligned with our values. Spoiler, there's not a lot of companies out there that are aligned with our values. So the point, we had an opportunity to do a corporate, a sponsor with a company that kind of helps seniors choose the right Medicare plan. They weren't, the reviews were decent. I wasn't completely against it, but some of their business was pushing people to Medicare Advantage, which I think is a scam. And I didn't want to be in the business of covering healthcare while running sponsors and ads for a company, even if some of what they do is good, directing people to Medicare Advantage. I thought that would be inconsistent with our values and what we cover. Yeah. So I said no. That we would have got a lot of money from that. So the point is, I think we walk the walk and we don't take shortcuts. Because trust me, there's a lot of outlets who are running ads and are running sponsorships for these companies that I have turned down. So if you care about integrity on top of the journalism, please support us. All right. Two more. If you saw last week, we were on the ground when a preschool in Chicago was raided by ICE.
Yeah, that was wild coverage.
They went room to room looking for a preschool teacher who, from everything we've learned after, is legally here. They terrorize children. They terrorize their parents. So we covered a press conference after and a rally after. I want to show you some of what people had to say.
When Trump got reelected, I had this fear. Yeah. And when Trump got reelected, I had this fear. Yeah, yuck. I had this fear, like, what if Rayito was targeted? And I just kept brushing it aside, like, oh, you're fine. And then my worst nightmare came true. She's no longer there. But, all these children have been traumatized by what has happened, to see their teacher dragged out so violently, as if she were not a person. And that's what's happening to us. We are being dehumanized. It's sick. It's white supremacy. And it's something that as a culture we need to reckon with, because that's where it comes from. We're being targeted because we're brown. And how fucking sick is that in 2025? Like, what is happening? And when Trump got reelected, I had this fear.
By the way, that rally was John, our cameraman's third live stream of the day. That was his third live stream of the day in Chicago, and he drove all over Chicago to cover the press conference, that rally, and one other thing. So it's not easy to get this to you on camera. It's a lot. Like he was going pretty much from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. That day.
It's exhausting. Yeah,
exactly. I want to play one more from a parent of that preschool where ICE terrorized kids and then lied about it after, by the way.
We are enraged. I am the mother of 2 children who are at this daycare. Every single one of the daycare workers is afraid. Imagine taking your child to a daycare where they are now at risk of their teachers leaving them in the class because they have been detained for being brown, for speaking Spanish. My family came here to improve our situation. I am proud of where I come from. I am proud of what my parents have done for me. I am proud of the opportunities that I have been afforded. We are enraged. I am the mother of 2 children.
Another, by the way, just literally not believable. Like, not believable. ICE claimed that they were pursuing a illegal, and the illegal ran into the school, and somehow they went room to room and dragged the preschool teacher out. What? I mean, it's just, honestly, at some point, people are going to get killed. Well, excuse me, people have already been killed. People have been killed by ICE and Border Patrol, and people have died at these detention centers. But at some point, that's going to get worse, and real bullets are going to start flying. Not that the rubber bullets and the stun grenades and the pepper balls are okay. Pretty soon, if the Supreme Court keeps letting Trump do this, if lower courts keeps getting delayed and a judge rules against Trump, then ICE and Border Patrol disregard the judge, then the Department of Justice appeal the ruling, and it just gets fucking stuck in this never-ending hamster wheel of back and forth court motions while they unleash tear gas and pepper balls and stun grenades, and soon, who knows, real bullets. And by the way, they're terrorizing children. The lifetime trauma that are going to be on these children. We have shown you footage.
It's racial, that it's racism, that it's white supremacy. She's absolutely right, because the way that they are stopping these people, the way that they are deciding who to stop and who to ask for their papers are people that are black and brown, period. If you look a certain way, they're going to stop you. If you look a certain way, they are going to stop you.
And to be clear, I'm not religious, but I can pull out the Jew card. This is how the Holocaust didn't start with gas chambers. It started with asking, making Jews wear yellow stars. It started with discriminating against Jewish business owners. It started with signs, Jews not welcome in this store. It started with, who are your parents? Where are you from? So,
and it might not, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, bringing back McCarthyism. I mean, another group that was hunted down were socialist and communist, anyone that they want to label as that. So Absolutely. If you think it's going to stop with black and brown people, think again. That's Absolutely. Not the direction we're heading. If you somehow are heartless and don't care about that, it could be anybody. It's going to be anybody.
And before I wrap, because I have a screaming child that I have to go tend to, let's loop it back to the beginning. You cannot fight this if you don't have a real opposition party. I'm not saying politics, electoral politics is the only way to fight this. I think it's going to take more than an opposition party, but you certainly are not going to defeat fascists with an opposition party who just folds like a cheap tent and sells you out to all of this fascism, all of this illegal behavior. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's really, I think, I've been covering politics for about 15, 20 years, but on the ground, like reporting around the country for about 10, I've never seen things this bad and like this much of a powder keg.
No, this is stop and frisk on steroids is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Jordan, I wanted to ask you, did you want to read the super chats before you left? Because I don't have access to pull them up on screen.
Yeah. I'll read them. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you, Lisa. Super sticker, $3. Thank you, JG 1982, $10 super sticker. Thank you, new Status Coup member, Information Man Show. Appreciate it. Thank you, JG, another $5. Papers, please. At least the Nazis were polite. ICE is disgusting.
I wouldn't call them polite.
Yeah. Well, he said the NOTSEES, but maybe that was just to try and not get banned. Yeah, the Nazis were not polite. No. Leslie, thank you. New Status Coup member. Leslie, appreciate it. And welcome. We got another member. Do Leftism signed up through the website. Elizabeth signed up through the website. Austin, Merlin, Baslow, and Sandy. So please, again, I am not beyond begging you, the people. If you have 16 cents a day, that comes out to $5 a month. It's now or never, folks. You either fund the actual independent journalism we want to see, or we're not going to be able to afford to stay out there, and you could just rely on CNN to lie to you.
And go to statuscoup.com/join, because at least there the proceeds go fully to Status Coup, and none of the alphabets take any chunk. So it helps us out more that way, even though we appreciate any way anyone subscribes. If you could go and do that, all of the proceeds go to Status Coup.
That's a good reminder. YouTube, if you sign up through YouTube, I guess it's a little easier for you because the button's right there, but YouTube takes about 20-30% of your membership and your super chats. Whereas if you sign up to our website, we get pretty much all of it. And we can't get your email. If you sign up through YouTube, we don't have access to your email. If you sign up to our website, we have access to your email. We're not going to bomb you every day with fundraising requests, but we do email people when we're live on the ground for updates, when we do investigative reports. So please, if you can, sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Thank you, Zaina. Everybody go to the...
I'm going to be on Revolutionary Change tonight with Jen Perlman. And so you guys come and with Peter and Jen. So if you guys want to join us at 7, that would be great.
She's a busy lady. Please sign up for Zaina's Substack too. Her dog commands you to. Bullhorn Bulletin. Bullhorn Bulletin. We'll put the link to her Substack in the description. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Zaina. We'll see you tomorrow.